Being called a Jungian analyst can be a little bit confusing to people. Like the first thing they'll say is, you're a union analyst? And then I'm thinking like Teamsters and workers, and no, not a union analyst. So then we sort of explain ourselves and we say, well, we're Jungian psychoanalysts. Well, then you hear psychoanalysts and the first thing you think is Sigmund Freud. Well, there's some truth in that, because Carl Jung was a student. He was ostensibly the heir apparent of Sigmund Freud. But there was a big difference between Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Carl Jung believed in the human spirit. He believed in the soul. He believed that we were more than just sex, aggression, that we had an instinct for a spiritual life in the same way that we have any other biological instinct, desire, hunger. So this biological instinct is an instinct, according to Jung, for wholeness, for completion, for manifestation, incarnation, or simply becoming. Becoming is the utmost preoccupation and agency in the human psyche. Psyche, which is Greek for soul. Now, in many of my professional organizations, I don't use the word soul. I use the word psyche. This group, I'm going to use the word soul. Some analysts even call what they do soul tending, not unlike shamanism, soul retrieval, going to look for something that's lost, but not far away. In my personal and my professional life as a Jungian analyst, I have a lifelong devotion to the study of the soul. My personal practice and my clinical practice, they're not separate from each other. They're seamless. I understand the soul as a living thing, an observing presence in each and every one of us. In this room, I can feel soul, a reality that can be experienced through dreams, the imagination, premonitions, visions, slips of the tongue, meaningful or magical coincidences. As an analyst, we don't analyze the soul. What we analyze are the symbols that come from dreams, seeing dreams as the most available expression of soul, nightly, for free, available to everybody. I was thinking of a different word than analyst, like translator of symbols. I came across a really interesting, in my study of myth, idea not long ago, didn't know this, that the oracle at Delphi, she didn't speak in English. She spoke in a language that no one understood. So the prophets and the people around had to analyze the oracles from Delphi. So as analysts, we share together in the unpacking and the unfolding of the images that come in people's dreams. So the other joke that gets made about analysis when you tell people you're an analyst is, uh-oh, you're going to analyze me. So we don't analyze people. Analysis sounds like we might be scrutinizing a person for the purpose of judgment, good or bad, but it's not what we do. There's no place for judgment when we speak of the soul. While at the same time, we do actually speak of a moral purpose in dreams, very scary word, moral. Dreams have the capacity to show us the parts of ourselves that are hidden away. Dreams reveal to us what is in the shadow of ourselves. They reveal the whole picture of who we are. This is the meaning for me of wholeness. Not about spiritual purity, but a larger image, the whole picture of who I am. I believe that my shadow completes the conscious picture that I have of myself, my cherished ideas about who I am. The moral purpose of seeing myself honestly gives me a chance to make decisions out of the awareness of the whole of who I am. So if we are born whole, everything awaiting a quickening, awakening, and perfection, it seems as soon as we're born, the conditioning begins. What it's okay to be and not to be. And what is not okay drops into our shadow. It doesn't go away. Our shadow isn't always the dark stuff. It's not always just the envy, the jealousy, the contempt, the greed, the stuff that's so-called wrong with us. But sometimes in our shadow is what's right with us. Part of ourselves that were not acceptable to our families, our communities, our culture. When all of our parts aren't safe in the world, they get hidden away for safekeeping, waiting one day for liberation, waiting like light that comes out of the darkness. So I don't know, you all may know this poem by Rumi called The Guesthouse. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. My practice is looking at my dreams as a way of life. It is through my dreams that I see where I have been, where I am, and where I might be going. Maybe where I'm headed, a detour on the soul's journey to wholeness. What's in my way? But deeper, I feel revealed to me at times of great need, gifts of wisdom and vision and insight that are beyond my conscious understanding. So the big difference between Freud and Jung, who was branded mystic and had to take a detour to find his own expression of his own psychological work, he was branded a mystic. So he had to separate himself from the entire community at the age of 40 years old and find his own way. He had to do his own work. It was the work of the imagination. So in the middle of this, I got a text from writing, thinking, I got a text from my daughter. This is to me an example of synchronicity or magical coincidence. She says, I've been dreaming a lot. I've been dreaming a lot more the last few nights. What does that mean? I always dream about water in one form or another. I say, this is what happens when your mother's an analyst, you are psychoactive. Some movement or development in you. Water represents the stream of consciousness when it is moving, but it has other meanings. The ocean, for example, is the vast and mysterious unconscious. My daughter, I'm psychoactive. You know, when you just go through phases, when you see things so much more clearly, she said. So I'm going to tell you a story about how I came to be here today. And I hope this story illustrates some of these ideas that I've been talking about. As Rudy and I were exchanging emails about this morning, we both apparently had to search pretty far back to find the correct email address. I had sent an email to Rudy in 2010, offering to share in the circle about the gift of dreams and the gifts in our dreams, something that I am so passionate about and spent my life devoted to. Rudy sent an email back in 2010 saying, "When the time is right." I put it out of my mind for all these years, but I know that I have been preparing for this day. The time wasn't right, and then it was. I had a dream that I'll share with you in a bit, and then a second dream. But first, I'm going to have to reveal a little bit of my dark side. I've known about the Celebration Circle for many, many years, decades. Most of those years, I was a proud loner. I'm tough, I'm independent, I'm a cowgirl, kick the tires. I don't need anybody. I identified as an anti-establishment, anti-authority hippie from the 60s, proud of it. My badge of honor, I'd been kicked out of high school, was a runaway and a juvenile delinquent, whatever that is. I ended up learning how to cook at a very young age, and I became a professional cook. That was my first career. So when I heard about the circle and this guy named Rudy, who was in charge, I thought, absolutely not for me. I'm too independent, too cool, too smart, too whatever, totally unaware of the biggest two of all. Too scared. Too unaware of the part of myself that needed food and feeding, needed nourishment and love, needed soul food. And I have to laugh about this because on my laptop I have a picture of Carl Jung. So talk about being a member of a cult. I don't think y'all go around calling yourselves Harstians. So I'm sitting with a large group of people. This is the dream. This is the dream. So I watched one episode of Celebration Circle on my computer one night. I'm sitting with a large group of people like a congregation or a meeting of some kind. We're waiting for something that is about to happen, like a presentation. I recognize Rudy and that guy Hal at the front of the room preparing for some kind of presentation. I look behind me, and over the heads of the others, I see that there's some kind of processional walking down an aisle, although I don't see the people. I can't see who they are, but I see what they are carrying. They are carrying beautiful banners, and they are draped with green tendrils of living ivy leaves. I think to myself, what a wonderful world. No. I think to myself, oh, it's about the celebration of life. The Celebration Circle is about the celebration of life. Now, I'm going to skip this part where I'm talking about the god Dionysus, but I do have to tell you, in this sort of magical coincidence, that a guy walked in today with a sign that said, Dionysus Dawn. I knew I was in the right place. But one thing to say about Dionysus is he was the god of outsiders. He had prophetic powers, revealer of remedies, worshipped by women in the countryside enthusiastically. He was the god of the epiphany, the god that comes. This led me to the second dream. I'm standing on a street outside a 2-story home. I don't know this place. A young woman comes out wearing a white dress embroidered with beautifully colored flowers like we used to get from Mexico in the 60s when we were known as flower children. She is very enthusiastic and jumps on a skateboard and skates down the street. I happen to know that she is a student of a new theology. Then a young man comes out and he has books under his arms, and I know he is also a student of spirituality. I wonder what this place is, and I peek behind the building. I see a beautiful compound of cabins and rolling grass going down a ravine as if to a river. I recognize the feeling of this space, and I think, oh, this is Rudy and Zet's place. This place has a sacred feeling, a sanctuary, a safe place. Important to say that I have no idea where Rudy and Zet live. So this is a dream space that has a reality. This sacred space and the sharing is intimate. This is a temenos. A temenos, the spellbinding or magic circle, which acts as a square space or safe spot where work can take place, resembling a symmetrical rose garden with a fountain in the middle, in which an encounter with the unconscious, the soul, can be had, and where these unconscious contents can safely be brought into the light. It feels safe in here. It feels like being able to come into the light. Even the logo that the circle uses, the 4 circles within the larger circles, that represents wholeness. It implies the presence of the cast-out feminine and brings it back into the Holy Trinity that it is so famous with the Judeo-Christian myth. It implies an invitation to bring every part of oneself into this sacred place, including our shadow. Our dismembered selves comes into this place of wholeness. We can come together again here for a little while. So I'm going to end with, is that okay? Yeah. I'm going to end with a dream, but then a dream message. So I decided last night, any message that came during the night last night, I would share with you today. So here's a poem by Mary Oliver called Dreams. All night the dark buds of dreams open richly. In the center of every petal is a letter. And you imagine if you could only remember and string them all together, you would spell the answer. It's a long night, and not an easy one. You have so many branches, and there are diversions, birds that come and go. The black fox that lies down to sleep beneath you, the moon staring with her bone-white eye. Finally, you have spent all the energy you can, and you drag from the ground the muddy skirt of your roots and leap awake with 2 or 3 syllables like water in your mouth and a sense of loss, a memory not yet of a word, certainly not yet the answer, only how it feels. When deep in the tree all the locks click open and the fire surges through the wood and the blossoms blossom. So the dream last night was a loop. It was a message. It was words. I hardly dream in words, but it just kept saying it over and over and over again. Here's the message. Again, a mystery. An archetypal event deserves an archetypal response. So what does that mean? Something mythic, something universal, something ancient. When something important happens, it deserves to be honored. So, the baby bird, I kept thinking about the baby bird. I watched the baby bird. I thought, oh, it's a chicken. No, it's a chicken. It's a baby chicken. And what's a baby chicken doing in a bird bath? No. So this morning, I prepared myself. I lit my candle. I watched my new granddaughter, Mabel, squirming around, wiggling around in her wholeness and her perfection. And I thought, oh no, it's not a chicken, it's a duck. It's a baby duck. Okay, still didn't make sense, but I'm staying with it because that's my practice. Something is wanting to be revealed to me. So I open my phone, the great God Google, I open my phone because I'm going to look at some more darling pictures of my new granddaughter, Mabel. And there's a little thing that comes up through my mail that I didn't subscribe to like those things do. They just come up. And it said, here's your joke for the week. The ugly duckling. Et voila! The ugly duckling. It's about transformation. It's about transformation. Thank you.